The whole idea is to get out of the U.S. dollar, to get out of a currency that is on the verge of collapse. Because the people who don't get out, that just think they're playing it safe, that don't want to take any risk, so they keep their money in the dollar, they are going to be broke. They're going to be completely broke, and that is obvious. It's obvious to me that that's what's going to happen. And this is pure inflation, Latin American style. This is hyperinflation. This is Zimbabwe. This is the identical monetary policy. This is what the Weimar Republic did, and we're going to have the same result. And I am 100% convinced that anybody who has their wealth in U.S. dollars will be just as broke as the people who have their money with Madoff. It's not going to matter. It is going to be destroyed. And I don't know how much time you have. You know, with the dollar dropping 5% a week at this point, I don't know. Could the dollar snap back a little bit? Sure, of course. But what if it keeps falling? What if it's down 5% next week and 5% the week after that? And then what if it drops 10% and another 10%? Who knows? You know, at some point, a year or two from now, the dollar could be dropping 5% a day. You know, the inflation rate in Zimbabwe is over 100 million% per year. I can't even calculate what that is. But you know what? It didn't start off that bad. The dollar is now sinking on its own weight, and it's going to drop like a stone. And, you know, there's not a lot of time.
Making money free since the financial crisis had some pundits predicting hyperinflation. But a funny thing happened on the way to hyperinflation. The U.S. dollar index, instead of collapsing, has gained value since 2011. Instead of seeing interest rates spike, we've seen U.S. Treasury yields collapse by over 60% since the 2008 crisis to new record lows. And we've seen these trends in the face of a public debt that continues to mount and a credit rating downgrade in the summer of 2011. And as we're beginning to be lulled to sleep by the constant hum of fiscal cliff warnings.
But if we avoid the cliff, that is very bullish for the gold market. And if you want to escape the destruction, you have to own something else. You have to own real things. I think that gold is going to outperform stocks.
This is November, middle of November 2012. So you can see gold got destroyed. Gold is down 20% over the past 6 months since this interview. And today it is May 25th, 2013. The Dow is up more than 20%. I mean, what's this guy talking about? Are you kidding me? How in the hell is this guy still on TV? Get this guy off the air. He's a disaster. He's a joke.
We thought it was worth asking, whatever happened to hyperinflation? We asked Peter Schiff, what about hyperinflation? Because this is something that you have been hammering on since 2008.
Peter Schiff is a clown. Get him off the air.
And I know that you're saying you can't predict when this is going to happen, but why haven't we seen that happen?
You're a loser. Get out of my way.
The second way to make money that I stumbled onto was placing tiny classified ads in the newspaper. It could make you a fortune.
He's going to always have all kinds of excuses for you. Listen, excuses don't cut it, Schiff. You don't know what you're talking about.
Not everyone is fortunate enough to know my techniques of how to make a lot of money.
If you listen to anybody on CNBC, including Peter Schiff, you deserve one thing and one thing only.
You deserve to be broke.
Best way to make money other than to listen to me and to get my research is just to basically do the opposite of what Schiff says.
There you have it, folks. There you have it. A couple of videos from 2012. I'm going to go ahead and play this. Let's see what we got here.
Is breaking down. Joining me is Peter Schiff, Chief Market Strategist at the Euro-Pacific Asset Management. Peter has been warning about this for years, from fiat instability to stagflation and dollar devaluation. And in a post this week on X, he wrote, the U.S. dollar, bonds, and stocks are all getting killed. America's ride on the global gravy train is about to come to a screeching halt. Peter, welcome.
Now, what you're about to experience is a live, unrehearsed takedown of a charlatan. Okay? This is a guy that I've exposed for a long time. Many, many years. I've got probably over 1,000 publications on Peter. Well, publications and videos, I would say. Over 1,000. That's right. Exposing not only his terrible track record, which is one of the worst, I think maybe the worst I've ever seen, but his propaganda, his gold propaganda. I mean, honestly, the articles that I've written on gold, I should probably write a book. But, I mean, I could just easily do it, but nobody will want to buy it. See, people aren't interested in being warned. They're not interested in understanding risk, understanding disinformation. They want hope. They want to be sold something, you see? They want to believe bullshit. This is why do you think religion is so popular? And these guys, that's what Peter Schiff does. He preaches a religion. You know that, right? All these people out there are like televangelists. All of them. And YouTube is just a fucking echo chamber. All these channels, they're all echo chambers, and they're all like cults. They're not open discussions. They're not debating things. It's all like a PR, like a copy editing. It's complete horseshit. It's complete fraud. Now, before we begin, before I take a hammer to this clown and chop him up so easily, first of all, let me just say, it looks like Peter's not on the fucking sauce today. Looks like he's not on the fucking sauce. Because Peter, I mean, looked like he was going on air fucking stone drunk. Looks like he may have gotten treatment. I don't know. At least, I don't know. His face is not red as a fucking turnip today. But anyway. You all know Kitco, and I've got a story about Kitco. I've shown this before. I don't have my site pulled up, so I'm not going to show this now. But back when I was the single hero, and I saved a lot of people a lot of money. Anyone who has listened to me on Peter Schiff and all these doomsday crackpots in the media promoted as experts, if you have an IQ over 80 and you're not mentally ill, I saved you money. Fact. Unless you already knew that they're contrarian indicators. Okay. Remember, folks, if you understand the basics, you don't even need to think that much. Basic rule number one, if they're always being promoted in the media, they're the last person you need to listen to. Media ain't going to give you experts. Okay? They're going to give you crackpots, clowns, idiots, contrarian indicators. Because they help you blow up. And when you blow up, you need the advertisers to help you. Right? Advertisers pay big bucks for those ad spots, for the dumb fucking money. That's the way it works. Figure it the fuck out. That's the entire ad-based content, not just traditional media. That's the way all this social media bullshit's working. All these influencers. Who the fuck do you think is paying the influencers? The same companies that are paying for ad spots on CNBC. You got it? You got it? Why do you think all these scam tubers, right? They're pitching a bunch of investment horse shit because they're being notified, they're being reached out by these scammy companies. You got to be a goddamn fucking idiot to listen to anything any of these people on YouTube say about investments. About anything, actually. They're all frauds. If you're going to YouTube for any type of information, you're a goddamn idiot. You're a lazy, stupid fucking idiot, and you're going to deserve what you fucking get. And that's coming from me, a world-class analyst. And I hate to throw stuff out there like Ivy League graduate, because for me, that's kind of fucking silly nonsense. But for a lot of dumbass people, it means a lot of things. Oh, whoa! Right? I mean, I think it's kind of, nothing. Right? But, look at the audience on YouTube. You're talking about really low-level, poorly educated twerps. You all saw the video on Peter Schiff, right? Peter Schiff, and many people don't even know about Peter Schiff. Back when I was exposing the entire gold pumping scene, this is what was taking over everything. You got to understand that. Where cryptocurrencies are today, the gold pumping movement was 15 years ago, 16 years ago. Okay? And as a testament to my virtue, my honesty, my expertise, I had been recommending gold before the financial crisis, but I recommended the ETFs. And I wasn't like some gold fucking peddler. It was just a part for hedging, right? And I recommended an exit strategy. See, gold is very volatile. If you're not trading gold, you're really leaving a lot of money on the table. It's very, very volatile. Okay? So, in order to trade it, you have to use the ETFs. And if you buy physical gold, you're going to pay huge commissions. That's why I didn't ever recommend physical gold, really. Because, and this is why the whole gold pumping movement, they've been spending billions of dollars over the years. Billions of dollars. That's right. Including all these channels where they pump gold. All these channels where it's a fear porn. Take a look at who's sponsoring them. They're being paid off by gold dealers. Why? Folks, all these myths, all these rumors, all this horse shit, it's all about getting people to buy gold because there's huge commissions. And they don't even need to buy gold from Peter Schiff or his buddies. As long as you buy gold, you're supporting the price, it moves it up, and Peter gets more money when he sells it to some sucker. Why? Because he gets a commission, a percentage-based commission. You see? The disinformation that's been disseminated by the gold pumping kingpins over the past few decades is so fraudulent that these people should be in prison, in my opinion, many of them anyway. Not to mention people like Eric Sprott, who's I've proved has been pump and dump. This guy is involved in pump and dumps. And a lot of these people, they use YouTube for pump and dumps, by the way, because they think that they're off the radar, like Eric Sprott has done. That fucking piece of shit. Rick Rule. These guys, folks, you got to understand, the big circle jerk for the precious metals guys, you got to understand how that works. Most of these guys aren't, it's not all about guys selling you physical gold. Okay? You've also got very closely connected to Peter Schiff and his clan. You've got, and Peter Schiff is involved as well in these penny stocks, gold penny stocks. They call them junior miners. Let me just go ahead and give you some priceless advice. Anytime you hear about or come across so-called junior miner, you need to assume that they're a fucking scam by default until proven otherwise. Okay? So what they do is and Peter Schiff actually, he does it all the time. He'll tell you, oh, well, gold is going to the moon, but the real value, the real way to make money is to buy the gold stocks. And typically he'll say the junior miners. And this is the big pitch that these guys like Rick Rule and Eric Sprott and that whole fucking clown show. Okay, if you look into these guys, I'm telling you folks, I mean, you're talking about some things that are not legal, that they've been doing for a long time. And you can imagine they're easily able to scrub the evidence off the internet. Okay? Because they're sending through email marketing and this and that and so on and so forth. It's a very different ball game. Same thing with the cryptocurrencies these days. Okay. First of all, let me just go ahead and explain something. The Toronto Venture Exchange, when I hear that, I think about scams. Now, I'm not saying that all companies listed on the Toronto Venture Exchange are scams, but I'm just telling you what pops up in my mind when I hear the Toronto Venture Exchange. This is where the majority, I don't know for sure, but I would guess the majority, based upon what I have heard, of these resource companies from Canada, they're certainly on the Toronto Venture Exchange. Okay. I don't know. I haven't looked into it, but I would say the listing requirements are a joke, which is why all this scammy ass bullshit goes there. Okay. But anyway, so I'm going to go ahead and play this, and I'm going to stop it when Schiff says some nonsense, which is going to be probably every 5 or 10 seconds, and I'm going to, tell you what's going on, tell you the truth, or tell you what he's up to. It's predictable from this guy. He's been saying the same thing for more than 25, 30 years. The same fucking thing. And all these people, and I've talked about this before, folks, every single one of these people, these talking heads on ScamTube, all of them, right? Oh, they're being interviewed. No, they're not being interviewed. They're not being critiqued. They're not being seriously questioned. Okay? It's a fucking stage. It's a stage for them to promote their horse shit. And of course, virtually nobody knows this. Because you've got people out there that think that CNBC, oh no, Josh Brown, he really came down on Kathy Wood. No, he didn't, you fucking idiot. Nobody. That's pretend nonsense. People are so stupid. Anyway, so take a look at this. I've never seen such a mess. And by the way, Peter Schiff would never, ever go up against me live. Neutral platform. Okay? Never. He knows who I am. He knows exactly who I am. And he's known for almost 20 years. How does Peter make his money? He's a PR guy. He's a mouth guy. He's a speaker. A professional speaker. He spends all his fucking time giving interviews, gallivanting all across the U.S. and the world, giving talks. He's a PR guy. He's not an analyst. He's not an economist. He's a sales guy, sales and marketing guy. Okay, great. Nothing wrong with sales and marketing, although typically when I hear those terms, I get it's kind of a creepy feeling, in my opinion. So what's he do? He pitches horse shit, number one. Mythology, fear-mongering, right? He's doing this to get people to buy gold from him, to invest in his bullshit. So what he'll say is, oh, well, I can say this because this is gold. I'm talking about gold. And I'm talking about commodities. This is regulated through the CFTC, the National Futures Association. This is not through FINRA or the SEC. You understand? So he mixes in the commodities horse shit with the real investment stuff. You see? Second thing, what he does, by throwing out all this horse shit and all this nonsense, dollar's going to collapse, so it's going to not be worth anything, right? All this horse shit, which I don't know any financial advisor that's able to get away with that, except guys that have names like Schiff, So, the second thing he does is by fear-mongering and making all these horseshit statements, he basically is soliciting gold. He's soliciting gold. He is basically putting these ideas into the minds of the public, telling them they need to buy gold. Okay, so they call up Peter Schiff's firm and they tell the broker, hey, I want gold stocks. Oh, I want to buy gold stocks. So it's no longer a solicited buy. Whatever they're buying, right, it's not really solicited. You understand? And therefore, when the stocks blow up, which is a high probability with Peter Schiff, I mean, you all know, right? Peter Schiff, we'll get into that in a second. When the stocks blow up, the investment's marked unsolicited. You see? And that it lowers the liability big time. I'm not going to get into that. But speaking of that, by the way, that's the reason why Peter Schiff largely got rid of his separately managed accounts business. Largely. And most of his business is mutual funds. Right? You know why? See, what I'm telling you, nobody else in the world knows. Because I know the financial industry. And I'm pretty clever. Okay? And I know Peter Schiff's story. That's kind of a combination of all those things. I've known this for a long time. So when Peter Schiff, he got exposed, client statements were floating around after the financial crisis, how they lost like 80% or something. They got just steamrolled. So Peter Schiff, looked like an idiot because he claimed that the media was telling everyone he predicted the financial crisis. Well, no, he didn't. Read his fucking book and see. He got everything wrong. Okay. Peter Schiff didn't predict nothing. That's a fucking lie. It's fraud. Get a little. You don't even need to buy his. You can find his book online for free PDF. Find it. Go ahead, read the goddamn thing. Compare it to the chapters in my book, and you tell me he predicted jack. It's just the same horse shit. Oh, the banks, debt, inflation. Okay. So when that statement was floating around showing that a customer at Peter Schiff's firm during the financial crisis lost more than the S&P 500, then people started to question Schiff. Okay. And the lawsuits started to come in. That's right. Boom, motherfucking boom. Peter realized he better get the fuck out of separately managed accounts before he gets sued into the next fucking dimension. So what did he do? He got his clients to convert those accounts to mutual funds. You know why? Because mutual funds largely can't be sued. You understand? No, you all don't know. Mutual funds are discretionary assets. Okay? As long as the mutual fund does not engage in style drift or, just basically abides by the rules, then they can never get sued. And the mutual fund industry is not even regulated. It's a fucking joke. That's a whole other topic of discussion. That's why he shifted from individual accounts to mutual funds. The problem with that is now everybody can see how shitty his performance is. And I've been showing this for fucking 10 years. More than 10 years. During that time, he's had at least 3 funds that had to shut down. One of those funds, actually, 2 of those funds, he talks about invest in China. Peter Schiff is a China guy, right? You know that, right? Oh, he says that China's got a more free market economy than the U.S. You know that, right? Peter Schiff, think about this. A financial advisor saying that a communist country has a more free market economy than the U.S. economy. How is that not, fraud from the perspective of the financial regulators? How is that not, false and deceptive marketing? So someone please tell me. How can a person retain their financial license when they come out and say the types of things that Peter Schiff has said over the years? And that's just one example. China is a communist country. China does not have a market economy at all. Do you understand what that means? That means it's fucking state-run. You see? Anyway, I could go on about this guy. I'm not going to. See, these guys, they don't want to go up against anybody who's going to truly expose them. Because they make their money, I've been saying this 1 billion times over, you people, they make their money through perception. It's perception. And they hang around the same circle jerk because that's how they get bigger and bigger. Do you understand? So all these channels that are connected, and you can go on this channel. We're going to take a look at it here before we continue this Kitco, and I'll get back to the story on Kitco that I've told before. You can take a look at the fear-mongering ass clowns that they interview, and you'll see. You take a close look, start going on their channels, and see who they have. You'll see the circle jerk. Okay, and the same people usually that comment on this channel, you're going to see them all on the same channels, and they're in a cult. They actually believe everything, and they're going to tell you that Peter Schiff is great. He's amazing. I don't know anybody that's been more wrong in the financial industry than Peter Schiff. Nobody. I don't know anybody. So before we move on, let's take a look at Kitco, and I'll go ahead and tell you the story. When I was exposing these gold charlatans more than 15 years ago, and I'm the king of that, and once again, I recommended gold. I didn't recommend buying physical. Once these guys were manipulating gold, I actually warned people that gold is now in a bubble. It didn't have to be this way. You guys pumped it in a bubble. I wrote an article, and I said the gold bull market could have continued for many, many years. But because it's in a bubble now, it's going to fucking pop. I don't know when the article was written, maybe around 2010, maybe 9. I said it's going to pop sometime in the near future. It could have remained. What happened? The gold bubble popped around the end of 2010, early 2011, something like that, and it collapsed. Gold collapsed by about 40% over the next 4 years or so, 5 years. And it took about 10 years before it regained its highs. That's right. Okay? I don't even really, I don't follow gold that much, but I've been calling gold correctly for a long time. You see, because the difference is I'm not a gold pumper. You see, I'm not always, oh, gold, yeah. No, I tell you when it's going to go up and when it's going to go down. And I made a shitload of money, so did my subscribers, in gold over the past 2 years. A shitload, including over 100% over the past 6 months with Newmont fucking mining, which I believe was the number one winner on Friday. Okay? In and out. Boom, motherfucking boom. Okay? You see? Understand, folks, all these people out there, they're pitchmen. They're not analysts. They're fucking pitchmen. They're pitching their horse shit, just like these televangelists. Let's take a look now. I know this guy's face. This guy's, what is his name? Yeah, E.B. Tucker. This guy's a con man. He's a fucking con man. I did an article on him. He's selling these fucking gold royalties, fucking bullshit, and now he's in carbon credit royalties and shit. Look, Ron Paul, fucking fraud. Con man fraud. You know Ron Paul, the guy that tells you that the government's bad, and he gets on the bandwagon. He grandstands in front of the camera. Oh, in the Fed, they're evil. Ah, too much debt. Ah, you Congress, you're bad people. Yeah, Ron. Yeah. You understand the pitch? You understand the scam? You dumb motherfuckers, you fall for Ron Paul. Elizabeth Warren does it too. They put on a big fucking act when the camera's rolling. Okay? Meanwhile, Ron Paul, who claims he wants to end the Federal Reserve, is taking money from Wall Street. He's a pro-Wall Street guy. He's one of the very few people who voted against the Sarbanes-Oxley, one of the largest financial regulatory piece of legislature in decades. It was a consequence of the dot-com blow-up, all the fraud, to address the fraud. Okay? Ron Paul voted against that. Ron Paul voted for online gambling. That's right. Ron Paul is for freedom on the internet. That's the scammers. No regulation. Just let everyone. And these libertarians, by the way, you'll notice they don't like regulation. You know why? Because they're fucking all scammers. They don't want to be regulated. They don't want anyone to police them because they're scamming people. You know, Doug Casey, Jeff Berwick. Need I name any more names? I exposed Ron Paul a long time ago. And now I was going to actually go over his son. I'll probably do his son, Rand Paul, another fucking fraud. The same bullshit. Don't know these people. And here we have, what's her name? Danielle DiMartino. Fucking looks like a dude. just destroyed her. I mean, you understand? It's the same fucking people, folks. Just look. I mean, go through. Just go through. Adrian Day, another fucking bullshit artist. These guys are all gold kingpin I mean, think about it. Now Kitco, Nomi Prinz, this girl's a fucking complete liar and fraud. That's what she is. I mean, all these people. Just go through. I mean, I know the deal. I've known about Kitco for close to 20 years. When I was exposing the whole gold pumping scene, I exposed the fuck out of John Williams, not the Federal Reserve guy. John Williams, shadow stats. That's like the go-to economist for the libertarians and the gold bugs. You heard of the guy? I exposed the guy in an article, like a 50-page article. Okay? It was so fucking brilliant. This is an article I did for free. I've done so much shit for free. I'm done. Go fuck yourselves, you want free shit. I would have been giving my research out for free if I hadn't got banned by the media. That's right. You all could have made a fucking shitload of money. But instead, who gets promoted? It's the criminals out there. The honest people, the credible people don't get promoted. We don't get anything. We get shunned. We get banned. Because the honest, credible people aren't going to make money for the kingpins. You understand? People don't get it still. In this article, Kitco's senior gold analyst, his name is Nader. I forgot his name. Not Ralph Nader. Nader. You can check the website. I forgot his name. But anyway, he wrote me this email. It's like, I have to tell you, wow, such an amazing article. I mean, I'm so impressed. And it's kind of insulting because this guy, it's like, dude, why don't you fucking check into who the fuck I am? I predicted this whole goddamn financial crisis, dude. Like, what do you expect? Like, you think this is something? You think this is like a big fucking deal for me to expose this guy? I predicted I was the only person that predicted the financial crisis. The only person. Show me somebody else who predicted it. Oh, well, they said Michael Burry did. No. Shit for brains, you're wrong. Go away. You're too stupid to respond to. Right? But anyway, my response to Mr. Nader was, I said, look, because I had tried to get articles published on Kitco. I was trying to get my articles published. I was desperate. Anywhere I could find. I was desperate. Being banned by everybody. And I figured, okay, well, maybe Kitco. And they made some excuse, this has to be gold related. And it was gold related. They just didn't like it because it wasn't a gold pumping piece. That's the reality. It wasn't a gold fucking pumping piece. It wasn't a piece that pumped gold. Okay, Kitco's a gold dealer. You know that, right? So, ever since that time, I got the email from this guy who worked. He was the senior analyst at Kitco, and he wasn't too happy apparently with all this gold pumping. He was more realistic. He was more credible, and I replied to him. I said, look, your company banned me. They won't publish any of my articles, so I don't really want to have anything to do with anybody at Kitco, to be honest with you. And turns out, I looked into this guy, a little bit later, he was no longer with Kitco. A couple of months later, I think he got fired because I made it a big stink of this. I told everybody I got this email, I published it, and because that article on John Williams, dismantling John Williams hyperinflation predictions or something like that, you can look it up. That article was very widely read, even though, it was only published on like one site or something, and was highly followed. Because what you completely expose and debunk everything John Williams is saying. Because he's a big gold pumper. He's a guy that's been pushing for hyperinflation for 20 fucking years. So apparently all the gold children, the gold bugs, found out about it. They probably called it Kitco to complain. That's probably what happened. Anyway, let's listen to Peter Schiff now.
Come back to the show. Thanks for making the time.
Oh, thanks for having me on.
Thanks for taking the time. All Peter Schiff does every fucking day, he doesn't do it as much now because a lot of people won't have him on because you've got a lot of people that realize he's full of shit. But there's still enough fringe networks out there and fringe bullshit for him to appear. Peter spends most of his time talking about gold and the dollar and how America's terrible. He's a sales and marketing guy. You understand that, right? So taking the time like he's some busy guy, you all have to understand this is what he does. Folks, never ever take anyone serious who's spending most of their time in sales and marketing. Okay? You understand? Spending their time sales and marketing. And that's why these fake gurus on YouTube, they're spending all their time making videos. And if you're like Tom Nash, for instance, you're going through every comment and making sure they're not exposing you as a fraud. And you're deleting those comments and blocking those people. Tom Nash reads every comment. You understand? Anyway.
Okay, we got lots to get to, as I pointed out there. I mean, just to put things into perspective from our viewers, gold is heading for its best weekly gain since 2020, up nearly 7% this week alone, and the U.S. dollar is on pace for its worst week since 2022. Now, China's decision to raise tariffs on U.S. goods to 125% on Friday sparked a new wave of selling. Now, Peter, you've been doing this a long time. Describe this week for us in historical terms.
So, let me explain. Peter Schiff has been saying the same thing. I mean, literally, he gives these speeches, these talks at these scamming conferences. This is why he can do this literally when he's drunk. Okay? He's been doing this same speech for a long time. The first thing I want to mention is that the guy talks about the dollar. Folks, let me explain something to you. Okay? If you're in America, the value of the dollar going up and down doesn't mean anything to you. It means zero. If you're an investor, you're not investing in foreign currencies. That's gambling. You understand that, right? You don't care if the dollar goes up or the dollar goes down. It doesn't matter to you. Do you understand that? You understand that, right? Everybody understand that? And so you got Peter always talking about the dollar as if it matters. And, get out of the dollar. Oh, get out of the dollar? So he wants you to buy foreign currencies? You know how, you do realize, of course, foreign currencies, you can't buy foreign currencies as an investment. You have to trade them because they are in futures contracts, right? You understand that. And the contracts expire. So you have to keep buying them and rolling them over and generating commissions. So when you buy a foreign currency, Peter Schiff's not going to send you in the mail Mexican fucking pesos, the hard currency, right? So why anybody would even get out of the dollar, that's like terrible financial advice right there. And that's what I'm talking about in terms of him brainwashing people so that when they call up his firm, if they're that foolish to do so, to send their money to this guy, then they're already thinking, oh, I want to invest in the euro. Then Peter doesn't have to mark solicited. And you got to understand, once again, currency transactions are considered speculation by the SEC. So it's a huge deal to put down that the customer asked to invest. You didn't try and sell them, but he's actually selling them through these public videos. This is the big trick that the fucking SEC and FINRA doesn't do anything about. Nobody talks about this. Okay? You understand the brainwashing. Okay? Nobody in their right mind invests in foreign currencies unless they know it's gambling. It's fucking gambling. Not only that, you got to understand something. This is a man who's been wrong about the dollar for more than 15 years. For almost 20 years. It could be even longer. This is as far as I know. Completely wrong. This is a man, you see the dollar, you see the chart of the dollar, right? You all seen it. Here's the financial crisis right here. After the financial crisis, look at the dollar. Okay? Take a look at that. He's been pushing the euro this whole time. You know what the fuck he's talking about. But once again, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what the dollar does. It only matters if you're in fucking Australia or Canada and you're dealing with goods, in dollars. It doesn't matter for us. Okay?
Well, this is something that I've been predicting for quite some time now. It was inevitable.
So, if you're predicting something for quite some time, and of course, Peters said the same thing in 2022. They'll put him on when the market's going down. He'll say he's been predicting this for a long time. 3 years ago, 2.5 years ago, right? Inflation peaked out in June of 2022, 9.1%. Peter Schiff, oh, this is it. This is a hyperinflation. No, it didn't work out, Peter. Hyperinflation is, 50, 60, 70, 80% per year. Okay? Inflation. Something like that. Probably, 50 is generous. That's probably a very, very conservative definition. You can look it up. I'd say on average about 80% would be considered hyperinflation. If you're getting 80% inflation year after year, that's hyper fucking inflation. Okay? My point is that Peter has been predicting this for a long time, right? First of all, we haven't gotten anything. This is nothing. Second of all, if you've been predicting something for a long time, then you've been wrong. You see, you've been wrong. A prediction is useless unless it materializes in a reasonable time. Now, if Peter came out and said, well, this is my prediction for 15 years from now, first of all, nobody can do that. That's horseshit. Second of all, how does that help anybody? But no, Peter's been saying, no, it's coming, it's coming. So he has caused people who listen to him, who fall for his horseshit, to lose out on huge money. Huge fucking money.
Inevitable. I always thought it would be a external dollar crisis that would set these events in motion. I didn't realize that we would do it to ourselves. But we have. We've pricked our own bubble, and there's a lot of air that's going to come out of it.
Yeah, debate. They're both gold fucking pumpers on this clown. Folks, there's no debate. Peter Schiff is not going to ever get into a real debate. You can write that the fuck down. You can take that to the goddamn bank. That's a fact. Okay? He's never going to get into a real debate. A real debate means he gets slapped the fuck down with the truth. Okay? You see all this horse shit? The U.S. dollar will collapse 2 years ago. You can go back. You can just go and see for yourself. I've got the whole story on this guy. I know his whole tactics. It's over and over again. Okay.
Are huge trade deficits, and just concluded that the trade deficits themselves were the problem, and that they must be the result of foreigners cheating us and ripping us off. The reality is the trade deficits are the symptom of the problem.
Here we go, the symptom. Schiff, the trade deficits are the result of foreigners ripping us off. I wrote about it in my book. Unlike what you did, my book is like a PhD thesis in hardcore research written for the layperson. Okay? So my point is this. Peter Schiff doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. I'm the expert on trade. I'm the guy that wrote about all this shit 20 years ago. So Schiff, you don't know what you're talking about? You're a fucking clown. Shut the mouth.
Problem is here in America, and we're not getting ripped off by anybody.
Yeah, we are.
It's cheating. The problem is we as Americans.
So Peter thinks that China's not cheating. See, Peter, once again, Peter's a pro-China. He's a pro-communist guy. Like a lot of people that he's related to. Bolsheviks, Marx, Trotsky, right? Peter had, and by the way, he had a Chinese fund, a China fund, because he's a pro-China guy, as I was saying earlier. He says China's got more free market economy than America. Well, something happened because that fund no longer exists. He had to shut it the fuck down. Peter also pumps Latin America. Did you know that? He was pumping Latin America for many years. You don't hear about it too much now. He had a Latin American fund. It's gone. And it's funny, don't you think it's funny? He's always talking about America, predicting hyperinflation for America, which is, by the way, is impossible. It's impossible. It's impossible. Write it the fuck down. Okay? But it's amazingly ironic and funny because here's a guy who's trying to scare people into thinking America is going to have hyperinflation. He's been saying this now for 20 fucking years. Yet, he had a fund in Latin America. The capital, the world capital of hyperinflation, right? A joke that I kind of make is that, no matter when you're talking about, there's pretty much somebody always in Latin America that's under hyperinflation. That just seems to be kind of the way that region of the world works. Okay, whether it's Venezuela now or Argentina, or you can go back to Brazil in 1990. He never talks about that. Folks, you see, you notice that destabilized second and third world countries can experience hyperinflation. But first world countries can't, unless something drastically wrong happens to them. And even then, America is the superpower of the world. It's impossible for America to have hyperinflation. It's not possible for many reasons. I'm not going to get into that. But I wrote about that a long time ago. And so you're hearing a bunch of horse shit. So Peter wants to everything is always going to come down to we spend too much, we don't produce enough, the dollar is losing its value, purchasing power. It's the same horseshit, the same gold pumping horseshit. Buy gold! Freedom, liberty, buy gold! You want to be your own bank? Buy gold! So Peter Schiff thinks that the world's not cheating us. He thinks that China's not cheating in trade when they use slave labor, when they use child labor, when they use prison labor. He thinks that China's not cheating America in trade when they have big tariffs, when they have, because you understand America has very low tariffs up until, recently, right? When China has all these massive subsidies for the industries. You see, this is the communist plan. And by the way, let me just mention right now, China's desperate. They are desperate. This is why Xi Jinping is going around Europe trying to court all these politicians. He's desperate to get trade done. If China cannot get major trade going on, if the U.S. shuts off China and they can't replace that trade, China is going to collapse from within. China is going to collapse. Trade is China's lifeline, not because it's a large part of their economy. because it's larger than the U.S., but trade is kind of the grease on the wheels of their economy. First of all, it provides foreign currency reserves for China's toilet paper fucking currency. Okay, useless currency. You see, second of all, it provides a source of revenue and income for Chinese, because nobody else, who are they going to sell their shit to? Chinese aren't going to buy their shit. They have to sell to the rest of the world. That's why they're cheating. You see? And the situation right now with China's economy, China's in a crisis. They have an economic crisis and a real estate crisis, and soon to be banking crisis at some point, because they're all tied together. And so they need trade. If they don't have the trade, their implosion is coming. They've got to have the trade to keep the charade going. If they don't have it, they're in trouble. You see, the communist system, the communist countries they're closed. The capital accounts closed. The currency exchange is closed, right? And the good thing about that is that you can control all the horseshit inside of your country. If you have major problems, you can control the problems. You just print more currency. You control the value. I mean, you all know that China doesn't have a freely floating currency. You all know that, right? They have two currencies in China. They've got the yuan inland, and they've got an offshore yuan. Okay? And that's only around because of the conversion from the Hong Kong dollar, with all the criminals out of Hong Kong and China moving their money. Okay? So China doesn't even have they control their currency. So they paper over everything. See, because they don't have, once again, they have a closed economic system. They don't have counterparty risk. Counterparty risk is what causes asset bubbles to implode. Just like the financial crisis in 2008. That was due to counterparty risk. That's why Bear Stearns failed. The counterparties lost confidence. That's why Lehman failed. The counterparties lost confidence. That's why Washington Mutual failed. That's why AIG failed. But you see, the counterparty doesn't exist in China. It's the government. You understand? So that's the advantage of having a closed economic system. You can contain things. The problem is you can't do it forever. You see? You can't do it forever. But China needs the trade. They've got to have a significant amount of trade, or they're gonna wither or face a sudden collapse. And Xi Jinping is desperate for this. This is why he's kissing ass to Europe now, trying to unite with them, as if Europe has forgotten the hostilities by China in the South China Sea and their Belt and Road fucking debt trap scams and all their horse shit. If Europe so much as even shows an inkling of allying with China, Europe's in trouble. I can tell you that right now. Not only from the U.S. If you trust China, you've got mental problems. Anybody that trusts China is a goddamn fool. You're asking for it. Okay, that's fact. So this is what's going on, and you're not going to hear this anywhere else, by the way. But this is what's going on with China. They have to have the trade, a significant amount of trade, because they are suffering. You see? I mean, who are they going to exchange goods and services with? I mean, they're better off now than they were 15, 20 years ago, only because they stole so much from the West, especially America, and they copied our know-how, our manufacturing, and they're producing their own. You understand that, right? They didn't have anything. They couldn't make a reliable combustion engine car. It's too complicated for them. EV's golf cart technology. You all do know that, right? Fucking golf cart technology. It's basically what an EV is. Okay? I mean, this is all basic stuff, but it's not coming out. Nobody knows this stuff. They're just getting a bunch of horse shit. I'm explaining the facts. Think about it. So, I mean, China would be in much worse trouble 20, 30 years ago. At least now, they've copied American and European brands. They've copied American and European products and slapped their name on them. I mean, you all know how it works, right? You've got factories, some of which aren't actually owned by multinational corporations. Let me give you an example. I think we're not going to get through this whole video, but let me give you this example. So Nike's is a great example because Nike's in the news because of their problems with tariffs, and they have probably about 50% of their production out of China and about 40% out of Vietnam. And of course, Nike thought that they were going to avoid the dagger by moving a lot of their production to Vietnam a few years ago, right? Well, do you think Nike owns all the factories that produce the Nike shoes and the Nike apparel? Of course not. It's like contracted. You know that, right? Especially, I mean, China, the special economic zones in China, they do have better laws. This is why they call them special economic zones, because they are governed by a special set of rules that don't apply to the normal areas of China. So you do have, and I don't know the details, but you do have more liberal laws relative to communist standards in these special economic zones. But Vietnam, they don't have special economic zones. You see, China's manufacturing, their supply chain is all about the special economic zones. That all began, in the early 80s, Deng Xiaoping. That was a big experiment in Shenzhen. You see, Shenzhen was the epicenter of the special economic zone, and then of course it's all over the place in China now. But Vietnam doesn't have any. They've only got industrial parks and free trade zones. So I don't know about what Nike's investment is in China, but I know Vietnam doesn't have special economic zones. Therefore, I doubt they have much. I don't think they have a whole lot. I could be wrong, but I doubt they have a whole lot of actual ownership of manufacturing facilities in Vietnam. So what does that mean? And I'm giving you this example because this is how it's worked in China for a long time, depending upon the company you're talking about. Obviously, high-tech stuff is going to be different, but there's other ways that they can get the secrets. But so Nike, what happens is that they put an orders in for shoes, right? 50,000 shoes. Okay, great. There's a factory that they're paying to make the shoes in Vietnam. Okay. Well, guess what? One of the ways, and I'm not saying always, because there's certain ways. How do you think the pirated goods get out? These aren't, folks, depending upon what you're talking about, pirated goods aren't necessarily fakes. Okay? They're not necessarily fake goods. In many cases, depending upon what country and what goods you're talking about, they're actual goods that have been made by the same companies that are making the authorized, the legitimate goods. Nike is a great example. Okay? So what happens? Well, one of the ways, I'm not saying there's just one, there's several ways. One of the ways that they do that is the factory that's been contracted out to manufacture Nike products. That factory, after hours, right? You got guys there that keep the fucking presses rolling. They keep things going, and so they're officially shut down. They're not doing any more business for Nike for the day, but they're going after hours. And they're making Nike shoes to sell to their buddies. You got it? Okay. This is one example of what's going on. It's been going on for a long time. It's more complicated and more sophisticated when you're talking about high-tech stuff. Okay? But my point is this. Here's the point. Imagine these companies that are producing Nike tennis shoes overseas. At some point, they learn. They learn the process. They learn design. They copy. And they open their own factories. This is why I made an audio about 10 years ago called The End of Brands. And I talked about this phenomenon, how if you look at things like suitcase manufacturers, like Samsonite and American Tourist, it's all the same shit. You see luggage companies you never heard of, and you're like, wow, they're all the same, right? The distinctiveness has dissipated. Why? Because the same companies that are making Samsonite and American Tourister are making these fucking Chinese brands. You see? That's essentially what's going on. So, the point behind all this is that without that phenomenon, China wouldn't have shit. They wouldn't. They've got, competitive industries in China now only because of the factories from the West that were sent over there and the years of copying. That's fact. They didn't have shit before.
They produce what we don't. They buy our assets, and they loan us the money. And so what does that mean in America? Well, we have more stuff to buy at lower prices. We get lower interest rates because of all this foreign capital, and our stock prices are higher. So we get to be rich on paper because we have a high stock market, and we get low interest rates and low consumer prices. Now, according to Donald Trump, that's the world screwing us over, ripping us off.
So you hear that? So what Schiff has explained, by the way, is he's discussing what he fails to tell you is the economic relationship between advanced countries and developing countries, right? Advanced countries are consumption-based. That's the way it is. Developing countries are manufacturing and export-based, or they are agriculture and export-based, okay? And what I mean by that is that the percentage of the economy is much higher in manufacturing and export or agriculture versus consumption. So if you look at China's economy, it's only about 1/3 consumption. America's economy is more than 2/3 consumption. Now, China is trying to transition to a consumption-based economy, by the way, and they've been trying to do that for the better part of 10 years. I'm not going to get into that. So my point is that Peter's basically making this sound like, wow, what they're doing is completely wrong in America, and look, no wonder why China, they're saying they're cheating. China's cheating, folks. No doubt about it. And of course, Peter Schiff isn't going to tell you, because Peter's always protecting his Wall Street cabal, his bloodline, his buddies. He's protecting these guys. This is the same guy who tells you, if you don't know this, he claimed that Wall Street is not responsible for the 2008 financial crisis. He wants to blame the government on everything, right? He wants to claim Wall Street was not responsible for the financial crisis. Well, someone tell me, I don't recall the government involving itself in fraud. Wall Street did all the fraud. See? So, clearly, not just China, Japan probably, you could argue, was the first country to start ripping Americans off back in the 60s, maybe even the 50s. Probably the 60s. Okay? And in general, as I said before, Asia wrote the book on scams. Asia wrote the fucking Bible on scams. And they don't believe in competition. They don't believe in competition. They don't want competition. So China has been ripping off America. There's no doubt about it. All of Asia's been ripping off America. No doubt about it. Now, I can't speak for Europe. I don't know the details there. But probably so. Probably, I would say. You know, if you let all these countries rip you off, Europe comes in, okay, well, they're ripping America off. America's not really paying attention. They don't really care. So we'll do it too. But it all began with Asia. Okay? It all began with Asia. And anyone who claims that China isn't ripping off the U.S. is either just completely stupid, or they've got some type of agenda and they're intentionally deceiving people. So you can decide what it is with Peter Schiff. Is he just completely stupid, or is he intentionally deceiving people? I mean, this is the same guy who claims that China has a more free market economy than the U.S., despite the fact that China doesn't have a market-based economy, by the way. Okay, are you hearing this stuff? Has anyone ever mentioned this? No. People just go and they believe his pitch. They believe his little fucking storyline pitch. And this is why Peter will never go up against someone who's credible. I'm not even like an economist, you know. I mean, I'm sure, and Peter's gone up against economists. They don't fucking debunk him. They just kind of put their little thing. They don't tear him apart. You see? Ask yourself why. Maybe you want to take a close look at some of the economists that he's gone up against and see if there's like a familial relationship, a bloodline, you know. You got it? Anyway.
And he wants that to stop. Well, if that stops, well, now, you know, the ride on the global gravy train is over. We can't live beyond our means anymore. So we have to live within our means, which means we have to consume a lot less. We have to save a lot more. It means that our interest rates go way up because we're...
By the way, if you all don't know, Schiff was saying the same fucking storyline 15, 16 years ago. The same fucking thing.
No longer borrowing all this money from foreigners. Our consumer prices go way up because we're no longer getting all their stuff.
Let me just remind everybody of something. This whole stupid romper room, rinky-dink fucking narrative. America is the country with the greatest educational system in the world. And for some dildos who are going to listen to this and say, what are you talking about? For those of us who understand the educational system, we know that America has the best university system in the world. And that's why America produces the best R&D and the best innovations. That's why America leads the world in innovations. And not just technology. The arts, literature. It's more evenly spread out with our European relatives as well, with the arts. And of course they have a much richer history, right? But when in terms of innovation, scientific innovation, research-based, America leads the world because we have the best R&D, private sector, public sector. Okay? Countries want the technology from companies in America. And those companies were built by American minds who were educated by American universities. They will pay for, they desire, they require, they demand the services and goods supplied by Google, Microsoft, Apple, Meta, NVIDIA, to name a few. Think about that. The powerhouses of technology are American-based companies. And those companies were built by American minds, educated in American universities. Okay? And you got this crackpot here telling you some rinky-dink fucking fairy tale that doesn't even have anything to do with the price of rice in fucking China. Okay? America is the only superpower. That's just the technology and the education and the research. I didn't mention the U.S. military. Nobody can compete with the U.S. military. That's fact. Okay? Fact. But Peter wants you to think that China is some amazing country, even though the only reason why most of them have real toilets is because they have their real estate bubble building all these buildings that nobody lives in. They didn't have any toilets over there 20 years ago. Okay? For the most part. It sounds funny. You think it's a joke, but it's not. I mean, if you think that it's not Chinese that are still using squatters, you don't know what the fuck's going on, because there are. Still using squatters. They still have them. You know what a squatter is. I've told you all before. A couple of fucking bricks. Stand on the brick. You want to poop? You stand on the brick and you bend over like you're going to play football. Like you're a lineman. And you take a fucking poop. If you're a girl, the same stance. It falls in a hole. That's their toilets. Okay? It's the same in India, by the way. I mean, you know, I mentioned this before a couple of years ago, about 2 or 3 years ago. Prime Minister Modi was bragging. One of his accomplishments is he's brought toilets to 100 million homes in India. I kid you not. I mean, half the people there don't have fucking toilets. They go in the fucking jungle and wipe their ass with leaves. Sounds funny, okay. Is there any Indians here who can confirm that? Any Indian people here? I mean, nothing wrong with that. That's the way it was in Europe with some of these countries a long time ago. That's the way it is. I mean, right? I'm just saying this because people have this distorted idea of some of these countries, especially Americans. They think that these countries, these developing countries, are modern, and they're fucking not. They're developing because of us. The developing world is developing off the backs of Americans. They're developing because they've got your jobs. They're developing because corporate America sent your jobs to their countries. Do you understand? Peter Schiff doesn't want to say this. Peter Schiff is a free trader. He believes in free trade. Anybody who's an American who believes in free trade is the enemy of the people. That's fact. All the Wall Street guys love free trade. All the media guys love free trade. You understand, free trade is unfair trade. Free trade guarantees your job is going overseas because it's cheaper. They can exploit the labor. They don't have the cost. They don't have to deal with the Environmental Protection Agency, OSHA. They don't have to pay for Social Security. They don't have to pay for expensive health care. Got it? And those countries subsidize their industries unfairly. I mean, do you really think that China is capable of making products that are the same quality as those in America, or that could be made in America for a cheaper price? Are you kidding? Are you fucking kidding me? America makes the best shit. It's that simple. And Wall Street has fooled everybody. They fooled everybody, and this is where I wrote about hedonic pricing. This is where hedonic pricing comes in with inflation. They fooled everyone into thinking that they're getting lower priced goods from Asia, when in fact those goods are made of, they're made like shit. They break down. And depending upon what you're talking about, in many cases, especially from China, they're toxic. They're fucking toxic. A great example, I've told this story before. I've had to buy 3 ovens in my life. 3 kitchen ovens. I mean, the way things are going, I'm probably going to have to buy 5 before I fucking die. Maybe 6. Who knows? 3 ovens. I'll tell you what, my parents only bought 1, and it came with the house that they bought. That oven was, I don't know, 45 years old. Same oven. It was General Electric. You know, when General Electric actually made things in America a long time ago. So why do I have to keep buying an oven every, 7, 8 years? Because the shit's made in China. It breaks down. So think about that. Same thing with air conditioners. They used to last 30, 40, 50 years maybe. Now, you got to get one every 10, 12 years. So ask yourself, are you really paying less when you're having to buy 2, 3, hell, maybe even 4 central air systems throughout your lifetime versus 1, maybe 2? Nobody talks about this, but I can guarantee everybody here knows this. When you now that I've schooled you on it, you're thinking about it, unless you're a fucking kid. If you're an adult, you're over 40, you know this. You've experienced it. Don't you all know who dominated manufacturing? America. Wall Street sold out America to make more profits. Why do you think, and I was going to do a video on this, this no bad capitalist Andrew Henderson is lying to everybody. His whole pitch, he's a libertarian like all these scammers. Right? They don't like the government. Go to Colombia. It's great in Colombia. The government leaves you alone. They're out of your way. Right? So he pitches all these countries, by the way. All these developing countries, you got to know something. Folks, why do you think the basic living costs in these countries, the developing countries, are less? Because they're not capitalist. They're fucking socialist or communist. They're government run. He never tells you this. All the people he's talking to are these people, we hate the government. The government runs all these countries he's telling you to go to. Fucking idiot. You people are fucking dumb. You got it? See, people want to leave the West. It's too expensive. They want to go to these developing countries. They don't even realize why. The reason why they want to leave is because countries are controlled by the investors. It's all commercialized. So you got the middleman taking a big fucking chunk of everything. That's why nothing's affordable anymore. And I'm talking basic necessities, from gasoline to food. In the developing world, guess what? Those are controlled by the government. As are the telecoms, the telecommunications, internet. Right? The airlines. So you have cheaper prices for those things. But if you want a car, a good car, well, you're going to pay 2 or 3 times the amount because you're going to have to import it. No one ever talks about this. Okay? Peter Schiff's the same way. Tells you Puerto Rico and all these fucking shitholes, right? Government run. Government run. The government's got their hands in a lot of shit. And that's not necessarily bad, as I've said before. I'd rather have the government running the healthcare system and running the energy industry and running the telecoms and running the airline industry than the private markets. If you want the private markets to run those industries, well, if you're in America, don't complain about the prices because you got it. And now you see why the prices are so expensive. Okay?
Our stock prices go down because they're not buying our stock. So Americans are going to see a huge decline in our standard of living and a big drop in their net worth. But I mean, that's liberation, right? That's, I was warning that Trump was threatening to liberate us from our standard of living and liberating us from our stock market.
The trade war began decades ago. That's a fact. The trade war began decades ago and was ignored. America ignored it all these decades. Why? Because the politicians were bought off by corporate lobbyists. And the fact is that we don't care about consumption. We want jobs. Americans want good jobs. And listen, you didn't have, when I was growing up, you didn't have these bullshit industries. Fitness trainer, dog walker, Pet groomer? What the fuck is that? Uber driver? Folks, why do you think these jobs popped up? Because the opportunities for real jobs aren't there anymore. The real jobs went over to Asia. Corporate America sent your real jobs over there. And you say, well, what's wrong with that? I like walking dogs. Okay, well, as a dog walker, as a massage therapist, as a fitness trainer, do you get a pension? Do you get health care? What do you get? You get shit. You understand? This is a big problem. Folks, I wrote about this shit 20 fucking years ago. Okay? Why do you think I was banned? They don't want people to know this. They want people to think. If I've got the world stage, people are going to start thinking. And all that effort that they put through the media apparatus, trying to distract you and dumb you down, wow, I'm going to reverse that. And you're going to think and you're going to realize what's going on. I don't want that. Nobody can refute what I'm saying. You can't refute the facts. Go ahead, bring anybody you want. Hey, go to Richard Wolff, the Marxist. Tell him to debate me. Let's go. Live. Okay? Any of these guys. Any of these fucking blowhards. These blowhard propagandists. You see, what I'm saying here is that I'm not talking about someone who maybe is a real economist who has it, Richard Wolff is not a real economist, in my opinion. He's a propagandist. He's probably getting paid by the CCP. You understand the difference. Somebody that's moving on an agenda. Their narrative is based on an agenda. They're not going to tell you the truth. For instance, when I was talking about China, why China has never been a superpower, never will be, I also exposed America, right? I talked about the U.S., the problems. Why? Because I'm a real analyst. I'm honest. I don't have an agenda. You see? But you notice, you're never going to hear Schiff say anything positive about the U.S. It's always everyone else. Why? Because he's selling international fucking stocks. You don't want international stocks. Expensive, and they're dog shit. In fact, I had people telling me about Peter Schiff. He put people into Bear a few years ago before it collapsed. Bear fucking collapsed. Big lawsuit. He put people into... I've got the video of BP, British Petroleum. He was on TV recommending it, and it's $68. And then a few weeks later, he had the BP oil spill. Take a look at the price. 15 years later, and it's still down 60%. Think about that one. Okay? He wants to try and convince you to buy international. Don't buy U.S. stocks. You know that, right? Think about it. Think about that for a second. And we're going to go over, and I'm not going to have time to go over this whole video. Maybe I'll do this another time. Let me go ahead and show you though his mutual funds so you can see. Because he markets his, he pitches his mutual funds. This is the whole sales call for him. Oh yeah, gold. Yeah, you can call our office. We have mutual funds. Yeah. Okay, here's his mutual fund. Emerging markets. Oh, nice. This is maximum. This is since inception. Okay, 2011. Okay, great. It's returned nothing. Let's take a look versus the S&P. I mean, the S&P is not going to be like a benchmark for this fund, but what I'm saying is that think about people who are buying his useless fucking funds, which do nothing but send money into his big fat ass through fees. Those people would have been in the S&P 500 instead. So let's take a look at the S&P 500 and see what it did during that time. Oh, okay. Oops. 317% versus minus 5%. I mean, you can't make this shit up. Why would anyone interview this guy when he's got just atrocious performance? I mean, anyone who interviews him is an accomplice in trying to deceive people. I have to believe that. Is that unfair to say that? Let's take a look at this one. So yeah, this is emerging markets. Let's see. Okay. Look at this. Look at the holdings, by the way. These Chinese companies. And by the way, let me just mention, I've stated this before, the fees that you see, the expense ratio for mutual funds, that's not what you're paying. You're paying a lot more. A lot more. They're showing the load adjusted returns. It looks like it's a loaded fund. What a fucking ripoff. Fucking loaded fund? Yeah, it's loaded all right. It's loaded with fucking losses. Fuck, give me a break. Anyway, okay, so his gold fund. Well, gold has been, folks, gold is up, 50% in the past 5 years or so, right? It's soaring. Take a look. Okay, what do we got here? Europac Gold Fund. Okay, gold companies. Okay. What's the holdings here? Wow, what a fucking loser fund. If you're top 2 or 3 funds, top 2 or 3 holdings in a gold fund, if it doesn't include Newmont Mining, you're just a fucking idiot. Newmont is the fucking blue chip. Look at all this fucking Canadian bullshit. Oh my God. He owns this Metallica. This is this fucking E.B. Tucker. This horseshit fucking. I exposed this company. I don't think it's. Oh. I don't remember what I said about it, but it's not good. You see the V? I guess that's Toronto Venture, maybe? Or no, TO. Let's see what the V is. Obviously, folks, if it's not listed in the U.S., I mean, good luck. Yeah, I guess it's Toronto Venture Exchange. Yeah. I guess you can sometimes invest in a company in a small cap and make money if it undergoes a pump and dump, as long as you get out the right time. I guess you can. But let's take a look here. The gold fund, let's compare it with gold ETF, GLD, Spider Gold shares. Look at that. I mean, can you believe this? Look, since inception, 2013, gold is up 121% through the GLD, the gold ETF. Peter Schiff's Europac Gold Fund is up 21%. I mean, think about that. The GLD ETF has outperformed Peter Schiff's gold mutual fund, outperformed it by sixfold. By 600 fucking percent. I mean, you can't make this up. Nobody's going to believe you. Clearly, Peter Schiff is the king of wealth destruction. But he's making money. He's collecting those fees. As long as he's got the people brainwashed. We believe you, Peter. We believe you, Peter. Kind of like Benny Hinn, Joel Osteen, right? We believe you. We believe you. Let's look at another one here. Europac International Dividend. Now this video, I heard him say it's the best performing fund of in its category this year or something. So this is doing really, really good. It's doing great. So let's see what it's done versus the S&P. This is, once again, this is inception. Since inception, 2014 looks like, yeah. S&P. Oops. Ouch. It's up 8% since 2014. 8 fucking percent. Versus the S&P's 188%. Interesting. Okay, let's take a look. Let's just try and be fair. Let's take a look at the yield. What's the yield? So here it says 3%. Let's make sure. Let's take a look. I mean, the S&P yield is, probably close to 2%. That's what it is typically anyway. 3%. Sorry, dude. That's a loser fund. Wow. The fees, the total fees after the expense ratio, plus the fees that are only disclosed if you understand the prospectus. In other words, it's not in the expense ratio. Probably are 3%. That's my guess. So you're getting, wow, what a terrible fund. I don't know where these fees are. Let's see. See, it's very important to take a look at the fees anytime you've got a fixed income centric fund, because if fixed income is going to be your primary return, which you would think a dividend income fund would be, then the fees got to be really low. Otherwise, what's the fucking point? You got it? Maybe listening to me, you all can see the potential benefit of working with a financial advisor, right? There is a benefit, by the way. Just from the advice I told people, VT's fucking garbage. Just buy VOO. I mean, that alone. And I show people, like, if you can't figure that out on your own, you've got something wrong with your fucking head, and you're just a fucking loser. Load adjusted. So I guess these are front end, back end. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. Anyway. So his international bond fund. Ouch. Let's see how this worked out here. So S&P, obviously, once again, S&P is not a benchmark, but what I'm saying is that normally the vast majority of people who are going to invest with Peter Schiff would have otherwise bought the U.S. market indexes. Okay? I'm quite sure of that. That assumption is valid. So, take a look. Minus 12%, 12.5% for Peter Schiff's fund since 2010 versus the S&P, 326%. There you have it. Let's take a look at the dividend. What's the payout? What's the income here? What? The fuck? Are you kidding me? 2.8%? What the fuck is that? I mean, it's not even. How is this a bond fund? I mean, what are you talking about? Was it like what? What? I mean, what the hell is going on? You got to. Wow! What a fucking joke! Jesus! I mean, it should be paying. If it's, I mean, wow, I don't understand. I mean, you can get a short-term investment grade corporate bond fund right now that's paying 4% at least, and it's liquid. I'm bewildered. I mean, this is a joke. Not only is the performance a joke, I mean, you think, okay, well, maybe it's giving us massive dividends. No, you're getting fucking less than 3% yield. Wow. Unbelievable. Now, keep in mind, he had at least 3 funds are shut down from Schiff. Probably more. Because I know 3 funds off the top of my head. The Latin American fund, the China fund, and he actually had a U.S. stock fund. That's right. Think about that. For a period of time, maybe a couple of years, Peter Schiff actually had a U.S. stock fund. He talks about U.S. stock market. U.S. stocks, of course, is based on the U.S. dollar. And it tells you that the U.S. dollar is not worth anything. It's going to zero, right? So, of course, I guess that means Microsoft is going to zero. And you can, since hyperinflation is going to come, you can buy the entire company of Microsoft with your foreign currency, since the dollar is going to zero, right? Since it's going to be hyperinflation. You won't get what I'm saying. I mean, he had a stock fund, a U.S. stock fund, I believe, because I believe his customers were complaining to him that he'd been fear-mongering all these years. The U.S. stock market was booming, and they were missing out. And he started a fund to appease his customers. And then I think what happened was people saw that and realized he was a fucking hypocrite and called him out, and he shut it down. That's my guess. And I'm usually right about these things, but I don't know for sure.
Wealth. And that's what's happened. And it's just started. This is going to play out our standard of living and liberating us from our stock market wealth.
Speaking of being liberated from your stock market wealth, I think it's good to take a look at these charts. What do you think, folks? I should make a video, Peter Schiff saying that line and repeating it over and over again and show these charts. Peter Schiff is liberating his customers from stock market wealth. Here you have it. Peter Schiff's fund since inception, minus 5%, versus the S&P, 317%. This is the best performing fund, his gold fund, 21% since inception 2013. This is GLD. So his gold fund underperformed GLD by a factor of 6-fold. Holy shit. Let's put the S&P 500. There you have it. So, when you hear the phrase,
our standard of living and liberating us from our stock market wealth.
Liberating us from our stock market wealth. When you hear that, think about the returns, the performance of Peter Schiff's funds. You guys need to spread this out there. Spread the fucking word on this guy. I mean, I tried so much, and there's just dumb people. In fact, you can take a look. Please, take a look. Oh, look. Peter Schiff says this is going to be a financial crisis much worse than 2008. Wrong. Peter Schiff's been saying that just about every fucking year. And he doesn't get called out. Okay? Drop your thoughts below. Okay? Let's see. You can read the comments. Okay, well this guy's right. Perma-Bear Schiff, okay. There you go. Peter sounds like Chinese propaganda to me. Anyway. You see, read these idiots. Stupid people. Look at this guy. I've never watched Kitco News before, but this whole video sounds like an infomercial for... Yeah, duh. That's right. Look at this guy. See, I told you guys, it's possible because the American education system has gone to hell a long time ago. Yeah, yet the world keeps relying on the U.S. technology innovation, right? How do you think that comes about? Maybe if you'd stayed in school, you'd have a fucking clue. Anyway.
And that's what's happened. And it's just started. This is going to play out for the rest of the year, next year. This is a huge trend that's just going to get more and more momentum.
Okay, so this is going to continue out for a little while. Before we get onto the economic outlook, I want to talk about gold here for a second because, I mean, this price action has been wild to watch. We're seeing this massive move, rising nearly $600 this year alone. We know some of the basic major drivers. Obviously, we covered extensively here, central banks, what have you. But what's behind this?
No. Interesting name, Jeremy. Zafron. I bet I can guess your ethnic background, given that you're working for a gold company and you're promoting charlatans, right? Reach out to Jeremy, by the way. Okay? Got it? So he wants to tell you that, of course, they cover it on this channel. Folks, I can guarantee you they don't cover it. It's central banks, he's saying. They don't cover the real reason, the exact reason. These are the same guys, the gold kingpins, but they're always telling you the Indians and the Chinese are buying gold. Every year. As I mentioned before in the past, only over the past couple of years, for the first time, has Chinese buying of gold been significant enough to make a fucking difference. This is what the driver has been. The Chinese citizens who normally invest in real estate and the Chinese central bank. Okay? Only those two entities. That's what's been driving it over the past 2 years. Now, it's a flight to safety. Now, it's, those factors are much smaller. But anyway.
Surge here. I mean, what do you think is going to be the next year here in the gold market?
Well, gold's up over $250 in the last 3 days.
Yeah.
Right. So we're accelerating. 2 days, last couple days, we were $100 a day, and maybe we'll be up again. Maybe we'll be up another 100 by the time they close today's trading. But what's happening, and what I've been telling people was happening all last year, as the price of gold went from 2,000 to 3,000, and nobody cared, and nobody was buying it because everybody was sidetracked by Bitcoin and all the talk about digital gold. Nobody but foreign central banks were buying actual gold. And the reason they're buying gold is because they're getting rid of their dollars. They are preparing for a world where the dollar is no longer the center of the monetary system.
That's complete horseshit. Let me explain, folks. Central banks are always buying and selling gold. Okay? Typically, they'll buy gold to hedge against when their currency before it goes down. Okay? So they sell their currency and they'll buy gold. They'll buy the currency when the currency goes down. It's that simple. Buying and selling gold. It's just a temporary store. That's all. But Peter's telling you now, these gold kingpins have been saying now for fucking 15 years, the dollar's reserve currency status is over. Oh, it's over. Oh, this is what's going on. Okay? Complete horseshit. Just complete nonsense. And it's just sad and disgusting that Peter Schiff is allowed to continue saying the same fucking thing for 15, for 20, for 30 years, and he's not being called out. At least get someone new that hasn't been around doing this, so you can say, well, they haven't been saying the same thing, even though they don't know what they're talking about. I mean, it's just, when you're saying the same thing over and over again for decades, you're not credible. You're conning people. You're playing a confidence game. The same thing. It's a confidence game. People that play confidence game are called con artists, right?
Reserve currency. And so if you're going to get rid of dollars, what do you replace it with? Well, gold is the most likely alternative to the dollar. And that's what they've been doing. Although I think recently central banks are probably also adding euros. My guess is that the Bank of China is buying euros as it may be selling dollars.
This guy's an idiot. It's the same guy that thinks that he's calling gold money. Gold ain't money. And they're going to replace the dollar with gold? Well, now we know Peter doesn't know how the modern financial system works. Dollar's not going to be backed by gold ever. Guaranteed. Fact. Guaranteed. For obvious reasons.
Because I think they need to replace Americans as customers, and the Europeans, there's more Europeans than there are Americans. And now that the euro is at a 3-year high and soaring,
now you're hearing more bullshit
the
from
Europeans
this guy.
are getting richer as Americans are getting poorer.
Yeah, okay.
And so all those goods that China can no longer export to America, they can export those goods to Europe. And as a matter of fact, China is not going to be importing any more goods from America. And so they're going to import a lot of the agricultural products or other raw materials that they used to get from us. They're going to import them from South America. And
China has always been importing agriculture from South America. China was Brazil's #1 trading partner. I don't know if it's still the case. This guy is so full. I mean, this is the problem. People, they just allow this guy to talk and open his mouth and tell his story and his bullshit and to spread his conspiracies and mythology. And let me get to his pitch.
So now those countries are going to be richer because they're going to have more export earnings, and now they're going to be able to afford the goods that China is no longer shipping to America. See, Trump really overplayed his hand. He thought he had the cart. He had nothing, because it's easy to replace consumption because anybody can consume. We don't do anything hard by shopping. The hard part is production. Supply is what creates demand. It's easy for China to consume what they produce or to trade what they produce with others.
That's wrong. He doesn't know what he's talking about. China is not a consumption-based economy. He thinks that China can consume its way, right? Can consume all its excess capacity. Hey, Peter, China has been in deflation for 2 fucking years. People don't have jobs. They don't have money. China's desperate to find someone to export its dog shit to. No doubt about it. I already talked about that.
Impossible is for America to consume what we don't produce. So, trade ends, America is stuck. All we have is paper. And that's why inflation is going to go through the roof in America, because we're going to have all this.
So all America has is paper. I guess no other countries use currency. Just America. You understand? You see how this guy is a natural kind of a swindler with the way he plays word games and twists stuff around and cherry picks stuff and doesn't really tell you what's going on. And it's disgusting to me because he's brainwashing people to buy gold through him, of course. And this whole narrative, and you have crackpots, people that listen to Alex Jones, they listen to Peter Schiff, the same types of idiots.
But really, for the first time in my career, I'm actually telling people that for now, don't buy physical gold. Just wait. Because even though the gold stocks are at new 52-week highs, and they're up maybe, 15, 20%.
Here it comes. Remember I told you guys earlier? Here comes the pitch. Don't buy gold. Buy gold stocks. We got a gold fund. I got gold stocks you can buy. You can make a lot more money. They're cheap. This is the pitch I told you guys earlier. This is what these fucking swindlers do. And by the way, Peter Schiff is involved in stock promotion. He has these little events that he organizes and companies pay to go to. You understand? I know the whole fucking song and dance on these fucking people. They're disgusting pieces of shit.
And they're jumping finally, but gold stocks are much lower, than they were a few years ago, or 10 years ago, or even 20 years ago. A lot of them, gold stocks are dirt cheap, and the reason for that is central banks aren't buying gold stocks; they're just buying the physical gold. But they buy the physical gold that the gold mining companies produce, and their profits are about to skyrocket because oil has never been this cheap in history relative to gold. That is the biggest cost for these mining companies. They're trading at single-digit multiples. Gold mining stocks have never been this cheap, not only relative to gold.
He's been saying the same thing for years. The same thing, and he wants to put you. You saw his. This is a man. So think about this. This is a guy. Wow, he sounds convincing. It sounds logical. He sounds like he knows it. Yeah, he sounds like it because he's a professional speaker. This is what he does every fucking day, all day. But let's take a look at the reality. Here's Peter Schiff's gold fund since inception, 2013, versus, it's in the red and blue candles. See that here? 21% gain since 2013 versus GLD. GLD, the gold ETF, up 121%. He can't even fucking come close to GLD. GLD destroys his gold fund by 600 motherfucking %. Can you believe it? Peter Schiff does what all these fucking swindlers do on ScamTube. They take advantage of the dumb and the desperate and the greedy. It's a huge audience, a huge market for that. I mean, do you think Peter Schiff is any different than Meet Kevin? I showed you the pictures of Schiff and Meet Kevin hanging out together. You think they're any different? First, they're related. Okay? They ain't much different. And then when you compare his gold fund to the S&P, the S&P beats his gold fund. It outperformed his gold fund by 1,000%, by 10 times. Once again, GLD, the gold ETF. This just tracks the price of gold. He's telling you, don't even buy gold. Buy the gold stocks, like what his fund buys. I mean, think about this. This guy's a complete fucking... He's even a contrarian indicator for everything. Like, even... What a fucking loser. I mean, this has to get out. This has to be communicated to all the media people. You tell them. You clip little snippets of this and you fucking send them. Any person that's promoting Peter Schiff without showing this, without having someone there, you know, because Peter's he's going to explain things away. Okay? The guy is a used car salesman. You heard he's telling you, don't buy the gold. Buy the gold miners, and we got a fund for you. There you go. Right. Let's listen. What does he say here?
But relative to the S&P 500, they're giving these stocks away. When you buy gold mining companies, you're buying gold that's still in the ground. And gold in the ground has never been cheaper in all of history than gold above ground. Mm-hmm. And so what I'm telling people now is, look, I think gold's going higher. Gold could hit 4,000 this year. But that's not that big a gain from 3,250. But I think if gold does hit 4,000, gold stocks are going to catch up. That means they can go up 5x. So rather than making, 25%.
So gold is already, gold has soared record highs. And look at his fund. His fund hasn't even come up to the pandemic. Right? Take a look at where gold was. Gold was a lot lower. Gold was around, 2,000, 2,100, or 2,200 around the pandemic. Gold is now 3,200 or so, and look at his fund. Look at that. So listen to this guy. You can't make a bigger fucking ass of yourself than this. It's not possible. And the sad thing is that virtually nobody even knows this until you watch this video that I'm making here. Nobody knows this because they're that fucking stupid and gullible. And there's no one out there to call this guy out but me. I'm the only person that's been calling all these fucking con men, disinfo agents, swindlers, scammers, you name it. The whole shebang. All these guys. Whether it's the gold pumpers, the fake gurus, right? The fake detective guys. Nobody else. Nobody. And I'm banned. Top expert. Top analyst. Predicted the financial crisis. Predicted the trade issue in detail. 20 years before it surfaced enough to become an issue. And I'm banned. And you got the stooges who are always wrong, who are scamming Main Street, who are promoted. Folks, that's why they're promoted. The media is in on it. You got it? That's what I've been trying to explain for a long time.
Make 500%, by buying the gold that's still in the ground. 4,000.
You hear that?
Gold stocks are going to catch up. That means they can go up 5x. So rather than making, 25%, make 500%, by buying the gold that's 500%. So for now,
you hear that? He's tempting people. He's throwing out the greed factor. 500%. This guy, his gold fund, in more than 12 years, hasn't made even 25%. Think about that. Gold is at record highs. Yet, in 12 years' time, his gold fund has not even made 21%, and he's telling people that they can make 500%. Really? What is this? Is this like a comedy skit?
I don't know how long this sale is going to be going on.
It's a sale.
Expect a ballistic increase.
Better get it now.
In these gold stocks. That's what I've been buying myself mainly. I've been adding to my gold stock position, not my physical gold position.
But are you buying majors? You buying juniors here, Peter? Who are you buying in this market? What are you looking at?
Everything.
Well, I'm buying everything. We own a lot of the royalty companies. We own a lot of the exploration.
Royalty's
juniors,
bullshit.
Producers.
Fuck, this guy doesn't. He's just completely full of shit.
Analyst said the reason we're downgrading is because gold's at 2,000 and we don't see any upside. Everybody thought 2,000 was the top. And I kept saying, no, 2,000
Yeah,
is
yeah.
the new floor.
Just like you said, gold is going to 10,000 15 years ago.
I just came out with a special report. People can get it for free at Europe Pacific
Here you go.
Asset Management, Europac.com.
Here you go.
Report, the best
You got a
strategy
special
and
report.
latest nonsense.
You get it for free.
I just came out with a special report. People can get it for free at Europe Pacific Asset Management, Europac.com. A special report, the best way to buy gold, in which I really make the case that gold mining stocks have never been cheaper than they are right now.
So I tell you what, you guys call up his fucking company and you're going to talk to this guy, Matt. That's the main guy there. He's been there for years. He's a fucking cult member. I've fucking destroyed him before. Call the guy. You hear him. He's got a report. He's telling you the best way to buy gold. And they got their lines. You say, wait a second. I'm looking at this mutual fund here and you can't even fucking come close to GLD. What are you talking about? And of course, they're going to give you, they're going to, like all swindlers, they're going to give you some fucking bullshit. Oh, well, that's because, they're telling you the best way to buy gold is to not buy gold, buy the gold miners. Here's his gold mining mutual fund. Since inception, it does fucking nothing. It treads fucking water. Look at that.
And that's how you got to buy gold. Even though gold's going to go up, the gold in the ground could go up much more. And then, when you triple, quadruple your money in these gold stocks, which I think you could do very quickly, then take some profits and buy more.
You hear that?
Even if the physical much more. And then, when you triple, quadruple your money in these gold stocks, which I think...
When you triple and quadruple your money. I mean, in these gold stocks, he knows the gold stocks, right? He's got the gold stocks for you. I mean, clearly, if he's telling you about these gold stocks you think is going to soar 500%, triple, quadruple your money, then he has to have them in his mutual fund. But why is his mutual fund dog shit? I mean, this is kind of bordering a scam, I think, isn't it? I mean, it's kind of official, kind of close to a scam. Some people, I think, would say. I think if you're sophisticated, you're gonna be more likely to call this a scam. I think it's very close. You could argue that this is a scam. What he's doing, because the marketing that it's marketing, deceptive marketing. Think about it. His only gold mutual fund. He's got all the gold stocks. He's telling you how great the gold stocks. Well, he's got them in the fund. He's got to, right? And he hasn't done shit since inception, 2013. He can't even come close to the performance of the gold ETF, GLD. And he's making these claims. Oh, I think it can go up 500%. Now, why might that be? Let's take a look here. Let's see if we can solve that fucking mystery. National Futures Association. Okay. The complaint alleges that Schiff violated the NFA compliance rules 2-2A. Cheat, fraud, deceive customers. 2-29A1. Fraudulent communication to public, I guess prohibited. 2-29B1. Use of deceptive promo material. And 2-29B2. Misstatement / omission of fact. Okay. By using deceptive and misleading sales solicitations. Interesting. That Schiff violated NFA compliance rule 2-29B3. Balanced discussion. So to take a look at this, you kind of see what's going on here. It seems like, Peter just hasn't changed. This was back when he was a junior, 1990. When he was, when he gets introduced, they say, "Oh, well, he worked at Lehman Brothers." They don't tell you he worked there a year. They don't tell you he got fucking booted because he got this report. He got fucking suspended by the National Futures Association. And once this happens, you ain't ever going to get a fucking job at a decent fucking brokerage firm again. You're done. You're going to have to start working for fucking boiler room shit shows. Okay? You read that for yourself. National Futures Association. The Central Regional Business Conduct Committee issued a complaint to Peter David Schiff. The complaint alleges that Schiff violated NFA compliance rules, cheat, fraud, deceive customers. This is the rule. He violated this. The other rule is 2-29A1, fraudulent communications to public, which are prohibited, and the use of deceptive promotion material, misstatement / omission of fact. I mean, doesn't this, to me, this sounds kind of similar to his, not just this fucking presentation that he's doing. It sounds similar to just about all the presentations he makes that I've heard. Right? Omission, misstatement, deceptive promotion. He talks about in a video which I have when he started working, and he said, you know, he was talking about unemployment, how he had an extended vacation, but now I know why he had the extended vacation. Apparently this is the deal. So the Central Committee issued a decision in which it accepted Schiff's settlement offer. The decision requires that if Schiff applies for NFA membership or registration as an NFA associate at any time within 9 months after issuance of the decision, the complaint in this case may be included as part of the record in any NFA membership proceeding instituted against him, and in such event he shall neither dispute nor submit evidence to refute or otherwise rebut the information, allegations, or conclusions contained in the complaint during the aforementioned 9-month period. NFA Membership Committee may, if it deems appropriate, deny Schiff's application for NFA membership or associate membership solely on the basis of the matter raised in the complaint. So he's suspended from the NFA, apparently for 9 months. And when this happens, you're going to get fired from the brokerage firm. Take a look. Take a look. Lehman Brothers through 10/1990. Okay, 5 to. So he was there for just over a year, just under a year and a half, and then where did he go? Sheffield. You see that? He went to like fucking no names. You're done. You're fucking done. There you have it, folks. I mean, that's what we're talking about. I mean, it sounds to me like I can't see how this is any different. Like his pitches, and I've got them all. I've been hearing him for more than 15 years. He leaves out stuff. He omits things. He deceives people. Misstatements, nonsense. And nothing happens to him, though. Interesting, huh? I mean, I've said this before. I don't know how he's still how he's able to still have a license. And this is not even from this is just from 15 years ago. The shit he was saying. But now I understand how it works. I understand. He's got the right fucking name.
I think you could do very quickly. Then take some profits and buy more physical. Even if the physical got up, it won't go up nearly as much as these stocks. So it's like a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to take advantage.
You hear this? I mean, can you believe how much he's pushing this shit? I want you to take a close look. Listen to what he's saying and take a look at his fucking gold mutual fund. He's telling you all these great gold stocks that are so undervalued, right? So clearly he's got to have them in his mutual fund, right? Let's take a look. Listen to his pitch, and let's watch the fund performance. Just focus on that.
Either through the ETFs or through MicroStrategy or any of this nonsense. I just came out with a special
Here it
report.
is, right
You
here.
can get it for free at Euro Pacific Asset Management, Europac.com.
GLD,
a special report, the
S&P
best way to buy
500.
gold, in which I really make the case that gold mining stocks have never been cheaper than they are right now, and that's how you got to buy gold. Even though gold's going to go up, the gold in the ground could go up much more. And then, when you triple, quadruple your money in these gold stocks, which I think you could do very quickly, then take some profits and buy more physical. Even if the physical has gone up, it won't go up nearly as much as these stocks. So it's
really?
a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to take advantage of the fact that everybody's been asleep. And, the central banks have been buying gold, and they haven't had any competition from private investors. Well, when private investors wake up, especially the endowments and the pension plans and then the hedge funds, when they finally realize that they've got it wrong. Remember, all the experts said that tariffs would make the dollar go up. That's how little they understand of this global relationship.
No, they didn't. I didn't say that. They didn't. I mean, I'm clearly an expert, one of the top in the world, and I didn't say that. What's your basis? Peter, give us some names. What are you talking about? So Peter wants to tell you that he claims that the experts said the dollar was going to go up with the tariffs, and the dollar has gone down. So because of that, he's telling you the experts are wrong, and he's telling you to buy gold because the experts are listen to stupid reasoning.
Every single economist, every market strategist kept saying,
"You're a liar." I didn't say it. What are you talking about? Don't stop lying.
Tariffs are going to be good for the dollar. Tariffs are going to be good for the dollar. I'm the only one that said no. Tariffs will actually be bad for the dollar.
By the way, I don't know where he's getting all this, but the White House wants a weak dollar. Okay? They want a weak dollar. The White House I think is planning for a weak dollar. You all know that, right? Because a lot of these countries that manipulate their currency, that weaken their currency, well, if they strengthen their currency, the dollar's going to weaken. And a weak dollar is good for the tariffs. It's good for U.S. tariffs. Anyway, this guy's...
And so when guys figure this out, they're going to start buying these gold stocks. You got to buy them first. It was about a year ago when Powell said he laughed it off. Somebody asked him, people are a little worried about stagflation. And he said, I don't know what they're worried about. I don't see any evidence of stag. I don't see any evidence of inflation. And I said at the time that statement would go down with subprime is contained and inflation is transitory. It was something that was... Maybe
that statement also will go down. Peter Schiff's claim when he said the Fed will never raise interest rates. He said that back in 2012, 2013. The Fed will never raise interest rates again. That's right.
Completely obvious that the Fed was oblivious to. And in fact, they don't even have a plan for stagflation. When somebody asked him about it at a press conference, he just knocked wood and said, well, we just hope it doesn't happen. And that's because they can't do anything about it. In fact, all of the stress tests that the Fed puts the banks through when they have the most adverse economic environment has interest rates falling sharply. Right? They've never stress tested a bank for stagflation. They've never tried to see what would happen to American banks if we had a recession with rising interest rates. And the reason they probably never did that is because they know every American bank would fail. So we have a completely insolvent financial system, which is another reason people want to pull their money out by raising interest rates. And the reason they probably never did that is because they know every American bank would fail. Yeah. So we have a completely insolvent financial system.
You hear that? Now he's saying the financial system is insolvent. You hear that? He's trying to instill fear. You've heard the greed, right? You've heard that.
Which is another reason that people want to pull their money out and buy gold. Because then, you own something. You don't want to just be a creditor of an insolvent banking system. But rather than buying the gold, buy the gold mining companies. Because that's where, if you want to buy gold, somebody's got to mine it, right? And there's so much gold that needs to be bought. All these central banks, if you look at the dollar reserves, especially in the emerging market economies, how much dollars they have to divest themselves of, they have to take all those dollars and turn a lot of it into gold. The gold's not there. So somebody's got to pull it out of the ground. And the companies that are doing that are going to make a fortune.
According to billionaire Larry Fink, when he talks to CEOs, they tell him that the U.S. is already in a recession. I mean, what's the timing look like on both of these things?
Well, I've been saying we were in a recession for a long time. That's why Donald Trump got elected. The government keeps lying to us about the economy because they're understating inflation. And inflation is masquerading as legitimate growth. But the public was...
Anyway, I'm done with this fucking guy. I mean, really, you guys go on his fucking channel and you fucking call out these delusional cult members. They're fucking stupid. They're goddamn stupid. Schiff is complete disinformation, and what he's doing here. I mean, he's clearly a fucking clown, making all these claims. You've seen his mutual fund, and call up his firm. Say, hey, I saw this video, and you're talking about these gold stocks. So how do we buy the gold stocks? And then you ask them, oh, what about this mutual fund? Why is it can't even beat GLD? You expect me to believe this horse shit when you can't even beat GLD and you got 12 years to do it? You not even beat GLD, the gold ETF. GLD outperformed your fund by sixfold. Sixfold. GLD. That's, you all know GLD. It's tagged to the price of gold. Wow. Total fucking clown.